How many times have I messed that up now?
You just don't worry about it. But yes, Machinery Restorer on YouTube. He makes excellent videos. No, we're not sponsored.
Anyway, everyone, willkommen, bienvenue, welcome.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Damn, man, you messed up the cabaret reference.
I love messing things up.
The fuckery. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Howdy, folks.
Not that we're in a different venue as per usual, but we have with us today a true titan of industry, not to waste time on introductions, a pioneer of industrial sustainability, founder and chief of operations at SwedishDiesel Group Global. It's Sam.
Hello, hello. Known in other parts as Swedish Diesel or Stockholm, if you'd rather.
I forgot to ask you when you walked in, how's your week going?
It's going by weirdly quickly.
You
have that every so often. You have weeks that are just going by painfully slow, and other times they're going by so fast you just can't keep track of anything.
Can they go by painfully quickly?
I think that's where I'm
yes. I would agree, yes.
Because you'll have to excuse me if I'm a bit slow, but
we're all a bit slow here. They call me a 4-cylinder because I'm slow. I'm sick in the head.
In some instances, that would be considered a skill issue because I'm currently stuck driving a 4-cylinder, but it's kind of quickly. It's kind of quick, but it is
quickly.
It is quickly. Oh, I can't take this seriously.
You know, there's a European moped called an NSU Quickly.
That is an incredible name.
Alex from Two Stroke Stuffing has one that he put like an 88cc like 2-stroke race engine on. The seat is made of wood and it has bike tires on it, and it will do like 55 miles an hour.
That's horrifying.
It is. I wouldn't wish that upon myself. I am sane enough to be trusted with heavy equipment, but not with high-power two-wheeled machines.
I can be trusted with heavy equipment, just not heavy equipment that's fast, or even light-duty equipment that's fast I should not be trusted with. I mean, when we were reviewing the Hobgoblin Motors GTI,
yes.
I was not trusted with it.
Yes, of course.
You were handed the keys, though at the same time, I'm also not too well-versed with driving a standard vehicle.
My mental health issues are undiagnosed, and I can be trusted with 370 horsepower.
Don't call me out like this.
Shush. This is personal. I already forgot what we were talking about a minute ago. We got engrossed in the Flymo hover mower restoration.
You just got to go with the flow.
Go with the flow. There's not much airflow happening there. Look at that.
For the folks back at home, we're looking at one of those Briggs & scrap iron foam filters. You know, the ones that kind of just like disintegrate into cocaine over time.
Like they just bought a bunch of like old mattresses and repurposed them into engine filters.
Bed bugs and love stains and everything.
God bless.
Only the best.
Only the best.
Although
Briggs & Stratton.
Though, to be honest, those old Briggs, someone once described it as they will fire up running on anything with an octane higher than grapefruit juice after sitting in a damp shed for 10 years.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. There is a growing number of these engines in my apartment. Actually, they're like bugs. I can't get rid of them. They keep appearing.
I'm to blame for that, I reckon.
I keep going on Facebook Marketplace while I'm asleep or something and buying people's old garbage.
Hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
I was going to ask you in the beginning for comedic effect, SwedishDiesel Group, a really up-and-coming company in the industrial sustainability sector, of which I am happy, of course, to be a shareholder, if you'll afford me that honor. What affairs has the company been up to in recent years? We specialize in, what was it? It was the bumper sticker with like 10 lines on it.
Yeah.
petrochemical disposal, environmental protection, scrap metal removal,
hauling and storage,
towing and salvage,
hazardous waste disposal,
restraining order enforcement,
yep,
pizza delivery.
I'm
yeah.
sure there's one or two more, but we at Swedish Diesel Group do a little bit of everything. And the flagship vehicle is my beloved 2003 GMC truck.
The truck.
We refer to it as either the truck or two-tone.
Someone couldn't afford to paint his bed the same color as his cab.
Wow, I wonder who that jackass is. He must be poor.
What do you think, I'm broke? Huh?
I've been listening to that song so much recently.
Dude, I'm guilty of the same thing.
Megadeth, good stuff.
Megadeth. I've talked about Megadeth on this show like 3 times now, just because it's covering this particular time of my life. It's like the only music that gets referenced is like Megadeth, Mr. Bungle, Metallica, Faith No More, but I guess that makes two Mike Patton references in one sentence.
Faith No More, good stuff.
Yeah, I was listening to Faith No More in studio today.
Very good.
And then like someone came over and tried to talk to me, and I was completely off the vibe that they were on due to my music. And isn't that always a fun adjustment to make?
I should probably share my main playlist with you at some point.
Yeah, you
I
should.
listen to a little bit of everything. It can go from something, I don't want to say modest, because the band's literally called Modest Mouse.
Oh, I know about them. I've heard of them.
It ranges to stuff like, let's say, Linkin Park, Korn.
Like I said, I've been on a big hit lately of just like my Motorhead, Limp Bizkit, some Dave Matthews Band. I've been listening to that one song for like 3 weeks straight now. It has not subsided, but I guess I'm just looking for any sort of stability.
I don't listen to Limp Bizkit as much as I probably should.
Everything is fucked, dude. Everybody sucks. I think that really resonated with me right now.
Don't tell me. What's that one band? System of a Down.
Yeah, of course. Oh,
the one song, Violent Pornography.
They're the other ones I've been listening to lately.
Because you said everybody sucks. I instantly thought of that song. I'm not even going to try to sing it right now, but...
Drug money is used to rig elections and install brutal corporate dictators across the world.
Too soon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a bit on the nose. It's been a week.
It has indeed been a week.
And for what it's worth, I feel a little bit better because the state my peers are in have dropped so rapidly and alarmingly in the past couple days. As I mentioned, last episode was filmed prior to the presidential election, the night before.
Yeah.
And you can look up the current events. That's not our place.
Yeah.
It's certainly not our time to discuss that right now.
Yeah.
But the general consensus is that we're slightly more fucked than we were before.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I won't go on for too long because talking about politics kind of sucks, honestly.
It does suck, and I've had enough of it.
At this point, I hear conflicting things from both sides, and they all somehow have sources to back it up. So it's like, who am I supposed to believe at this point? Like, go away. I just want to fix my truck in peace.
Yeah. I think that a vote for any particular party is a gateway to the demands of the same group. Now, I'm not naming names because this is the group of people that's usually just referred to as them. You know, the them that is the butt of a lot of political complaints.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like whoever you vote for, you know, the actual actions being enacted lead back to them. And we'll never know who they are. So it's just a matter of who will block their schemes the most efficiently.
You can't win.
And also, I'm a conspiracy theorist now, and we're about to be taken off air in 15 seconds.
Hello, federal agents.
Dear feds and journalists, suck my balls.
Okay.
Own a musket for home defense. Just as the founding fathers intended.
Fuck that. Let's put a cannon in the front yard. Although we're going to have to chain it up a little bit better than our previous outdoor storage. I don't know if we should discuss that on the show.
No, that's highly secretive company business.
My apologies. Chat, you heard nothing.
Chad, is this real?
Am I even real?
Oh, I was thinking to myself earlier while I was on my bicycle, freezing my ass off, and was today the first freezing day of the year?
Either the first or second. It was pretty chilly this morning.
Yeah, all ye who have water in your radiators be damned. Cursed for 1,000 generations of cracked engine block.
SwedishDiesel Group specializes in radiator replacements. I accept payment in the broken radiator and energy drinks.
And removal without replacement. If that's what you need at the moment. You don't even have to ask. We'll just do it. I can smell a cracked engine block from half a mile away.
It does have a certain smell to it. I'm not going to be able to keep a train of thought. I don't know what it is. 9 to 5 office jobs do things to you, and they're not very good things.
You say office, but you're the glass man now.
Yes.
Resident OSHA parasite glass man.
I have found myself working at a glass plant of all places. Honestly, kind of fun, actually.
Some days are bad days for glass.
Yes.
Speaking of spectacular failures, did you catch any wind of what was going on our beloved college campus this morning?
Daggum generator done blowed up.
They done blowed it up.
See, this is what happens when you try to bypass your gas cans.
Yeah,
you try to illegally delete and tune your gas cans.
Which you obviously shouldn't do under any circumstances at all. God forbid you are able to efficiently pour fuel.
Spilling fuel all over yourself and your apparatuses is perfectly safe. Obviously.
Perfectly safe. Thanks, EPA.
For our friends over in anywhere else in the world, it seems to be primarily a U.S. problem.
That gas cans and their spouts are designed in such a way that it almost promotes you spilling gas absolutely everywhere in the name of safety.
Yeah. So
as long as the feds are happy, I suppose. Long story short, I was on my bicycle this morning going to class following an array of different fire trucks into our college campus. And when I arrived, they were extinguishing the roof of a new... it's not a sports stadium. It's like the bleachers building combination facade of a sports stadium.
So it would be like the outdoor equivalent.
Yeah, the roof of which had been completely engulfed in flames. And they had called in every fire truck from the surrounding tri-state area to come respond to this. Apparently 2 people suffered minor injuries, so I'm not going to make joke of the matter, but it gave it gave everyone something to talk about other than politics for a little bit. Remember, if you buy a can of starting fluid, your diesel engine will do the exact same thing.
You blow it up.
You blew it up. I blew up the 7.3 Power Stroke, and my dad sent me to my room. Go do your homework.
I wonder if there's any ether at the glass plant.
Ether at the glass plant? More likely than you'd think. So, Wei Chu, who's been on this show before, dear friend of both of us, he and I were talking the other night. Did you hear he went to a car museum?
Maybe, I don't quite recall.
He went to a car museum where Ital Design was holding an event, as responsible design students do. And he started showing me pictures, and he was explaining that he has gained an affinity for a new car that he would like to purchase one day. A Packard.
Packard.
Most people don't know about Packards. I kind of forgot they existed, which is a damn shame considering how cool they are.
They haven't been around for...
I believe they stopped making cars in the 60s.
Yeah, I didn't even know they went that far.
The latest one I've seen was a 55 that he showed me. And it looks pretty much like a Bel Air if I had redesigned it to address all the things I dislike about it.
I'm now intrigued.
They started up in the really early 1900s. I think they predated Cadillac, and their eventual downfall was kind of due to Cadillac innovating over them and kind of flooding out their market segment. That they used flatheads up until like 1952. Okay, you could buy a flathead inline 8 Packard up until the Chevy small block was a thing.
Inline 8, Jesus.
Yes, it is just a giant slab of cast iron that they poked holes in and installed a rotating assembly. Anyway, Weichu started showing me these cars, and they're just fantastic, overlooked, underpriced vehicles, and most of them are well kept because the only people who held on to them were the people who were keeping them in good shape and really liked them. And their reputation, aside from just being, luxury examples kind of on par with a Lincoln, is that they are just extremely well made and reliable.
It reminds me of my days back in Ohio. It's kind of apples to oranges.
You looked very reminiscent for a moment.
It feels like a lifetime ago that I was there. I was there for another internship at a unnamed company that assisted in the manufacturing of braking systems for large trucks.
Yeah.
I'll call my fuel gasoline, thank you very much. The reason we call it gas is because it's short for gasoline. I don't make the rules. Okay?
That is why we call it that.
It's a distilled petrochemical.
That was one of the sentences ever said.
But anyways,
something about Ohio is just old Buick.
I was driving an old Buick,
and that might just be my association with your story. But like, just thinking about living in Ohio feels very like late '90s, early 2000s grandpa car.
Illyria. That's all I'm going to say is Illyria.
Fuck you, Illyria. Sorry, that was mean. Fuck you, Chesterton.
I don't even know where Chesterton is.
Me neither, actually.
It was just a little bit out of budget, but I could have played the most ballsy game ever.
The most diabolical scheme.
10 hours back to my unnamed home state in a truck that I have no experience with pickup trucks, no experience with driving a manual, no experience with towing.
That's called a learning experience.
That would have been absolutely just batshit insane. And I remember you saying that if...
Would have made for a good story.
Oh, yes, it would.
I've been saying that a lot more lately as people's circumstances just get worse and worse. Like, at least you got a good story out of it.
There are strange happenings here, my friend. And I remember you saying if I did buy that F100, you would just appear at my house.
I'd materialize.
You'd materialize out of the ground. It's like if you drive an old IDI, old men just materialize out of the ground.
How much you pay for that?
I had one of these back in the day.
You don't see a lot of these on the road anymore.
Back when they made real trucks.
Get out my way, liberal. I don't know. I ought to not get pessimistic about it. It's like you don't truly die until you give up hope on living. I feel like the same goes for a lot of machines.
Those are words to live by.
Words to die by. Words to not die by, ideally.
Words to survive by.
Speaking of, I talked on my last episode about the end of the donkey van.
Yes.
The donkey van is your car. You're much more qualified to speak on the matter.
Well, from a paperwork standpoint, it's technically not mine, but I've been driving that vile entity for the past year and a half, maybe 2 years.
It's yours at this point. That thing owes its continued existence to you.
Its miserable existence.
Yeah, the donkey van has to die so that other Odysseys can live.
It is,
and I think that's a respectable end.
It is indeed.
And by respectable, of course, I mean we are going to neutral drop it until something gives way.
It must be permanently disabled so it can never hurt anyone ever again. Because the alternative would be, against my say, mind you, it would have been thrown on Marketplace for more money than it was worth, and someone would effectively be scammed because that car had a multitude of crippling ailments.
And we've completely worn out this story, but we, as a moral obligation, we cannot allow this car to be resold.
Yes.
But the powers that be would try their damnedest to absolutely ruin someone's life.
Yes, and that's not an exaggeration either, because...
No, I mean, what we always say, you think about the kind of person that needs a cheap minivan quickly.
And this is minivans, mind you. If it was like a clapped Honda Civic, it's like, okay, whatever.
And yes, some kid can take that and K-swap it.
If it's like a rotted out Dodge, okay, whatever.
Yeah, some guy from I don't know, Rantank County can buy that for $3,000 and make a TikTok page out of it. But minivans are a special case.
Generally speaking, the people that buy clapped out old minivans are people that absolutely need a car and are just trying to fucking survive at this point. And Hondas in particular, Honda is renowned as a very reliable brand. This car, however, is the complete opposite of reliable.
It's a Honda, so that sounds counterintuitive at first, but it has been neglected to the point of where its reliability has been exhausted.
They would have had a bad time because after literally every drive, I had to top up the radiator.
No, it was a constant process, and anyone who needs it to be a maintenance-free vehicle, even for a small period of time, would get, just screwed over.
And this is not to mention other issues, such as the vague steering. I think the steering rack was actually going on it.
Who knows? The power steering went.
Yes, that was...
We were... One fateful day, we were fixing our friend's brake lines, which is a story that now has added irony in recent events. I'm so sorry for bringing this up.
That's okay. Anyways, I was over at the recycling center dropping off just general recycling, I think some light bulbs and other stuff. Then all of a sudden, I'm waiting to get out. The building's packed, and I hear a kind of funny noise. I'm thinking to myself, ugh.
Yeah.
And
you called us, right? Or you called us after disaster struck.
After disaster struck. So I moseyed my way out of the building, and I start smelling a sour, metallic sort of smell. And I hear like the power steering pump whining. I'm like, oh, great. So I stop, pop the hood, and the entire engine bay is just covered in oil. And I'm like, oh, that's not good.
We are suddenly in a situation.
Yeah, so...
Isn't that one of the best feelings ever? Don't you just love that when you hit that point of like, oh, I'm suddenly in a situation that I can't ignore my way out of?
Yeah. Though at the same time, these kind of situations, they get your brain moving. Like I was thinking.
They put you into overdrive, but...
So I'm thinking to myself, I let several different entities know that I just blew a power steering line.
Yippee.
And across all parties, except for one, it was like a collective oh shit moment.
Yeah, because we were working on the BMW. We didn't know where you were at.
Yeah. I decided, given my gripes with AAA in recent events, them taking about 3 hours just to get a tow truck around. It's a hot day. I'm sweaty. I'm about to work on a BMW, for crying out loud. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to...
Yeah, that can be the only hardship of the day.
Exactly. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to make the risky play. So I decide to speed run back to campus where my other friends are waiting for me. I was thinking to myself, I got to keep moving because there's smoke billowing out of the hood. There's a Dodge tailgating me.
And you highballed into that parking lot just cooking.
Yeah.
We are pretty sure you were on fire when you arrived.
Yeah, no, there was... And as soon as I got remotely near a parking spot, I slammed it in a park, popped the hood, and just hightailed it out of there.
Every non-combustible liquid in the vicinity was emptied into that engine bay.
I remember that moment.
Oh my god!
Everyone was sitting there. They were like,
I felt my fur bristle up.
Yeah.
When you pulled in. It suddenly went from, okay, we'll see if he makes it, to, oh shit, he's here and this is bad.
Yeah.
And then we fixed the BMW and we found some bottles of wine in the garbage.
Oh my god, yes. So
what a day, a gift from God, I tell you.
I was getting stressed because
if there's a God, he is good, and he blessed us with dumpster wine and, what was it, Miller Lite?
It was Michelob Ultra.
Michelob Ultra. Forgive me for disparaging Michelob Ultra like that.
They're all kind of just like low tier beer, although Michelob is like probably the best of the low tier.
The highest of the low tier beer. It's like having the best fast food.
Yeah. So that day, at the end of the whole brake line debacle, it was getting stressful because the final flare, we finally got the rest of them to stop leaking, but there's this one that...
Buy good tools, everyone.
Yes. On that last segment of line, I'm like, I'm not a particularly religious person, but that day might have been the day. I was...
Might be the day you start praying to whoever's listening.
Indeed. But by some miracle...
Just pick a God and send out a message.
By some miracle, the flare sealed. We took it out for a test drive. And
Lord, let this clapped out E46 live another day. If not me, then for my friend.
It survived. And it survived all the way back to Massachusetts.
And it hasn't moved since. God bless.
Waiting for some poor sap to buy it. But we were rewarded with our turmoil with a bottle of wine still sealed in the dumpster. We went to throw out our trash and we're just like, oh, wait a minute, there's booze in here.
It almost like sapped whatever of my energy was left, just the transition from going that miserable to that happy all at once. It wasn't even good alcohol, but it was just like delivered unto us in the most comedically timed and placed way possible. As we were like literally dropping off the byproduct of our struggles, our reward was delivered unto us.
That is an excellent way to put it. We're not kidding when we say good tools will make the job so much better, so much easier, so much less stressful.
Yes.
Originally,
except for power tools, in which case buy everything from Harbor Freight.
We had a Warrior Sawzall. It literally rattled itself apart within the first use.
My God.
It was kind of dreadful.
That is dreadful. That's disheartening. If your tool disassembles itself while in use, that feels like...
It did it like 3 times.
You know, that just feels like a personal failure at that point.
We probably should have just like slathered every screw with Loctite at that point.
Loctiting plastic together is crazy. Yeah, you blow up your Bauer impact driver, and then you take it back to the store and just exchange it for a new one with a coupon. And the cycle continues, just like with go-kart engines.
True.
Predator 212, baby.
Or Craftsman tools, I guess.
Craftsman tools.
Though, just be warned, the old broken tool you're about to exchange, the new one will not even come close to the old stuff. Excuse the loud chair.
I think I say the same thing whenever I'm recording with that chair, too.
It's tradition at this point.
It's like just loud enough that it comes across on the mic whenever you shift on it.
I started thinking about my college experience.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that's talked to me for more than 5 minutes will know I am straight up not having a good time. I started...
I had to reveal to my mom on the phone today that I was just having a really bad time. That didn't feel nice.
Probably... God, it's been... What year is it?
I've aged so very much.
I feel old.
We are old. Everyone talks about that our generation and those below us are maturing at a much more rapid rate than people in the past. But, you know, with like artificial maturity comes a sense of actual age as well. That's why we feel like we're 40 all the time.
I can't stay up late anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I envy you. I can't go to bed.
I'm just constantly sleepy, which is very ironic considering
Yeah.
the daily intake of 300 milligrams of caffeine. But
I feel like that's just spinning a roulette wheel of side effects.
technically, there is a permissible exposure limit, or PEL,
Permissible exposure
for caffeine, and it for
like for radiation.
yeah, or like crystalline silica. Well, that's a bad example.
I love crystalline silica.
The PEL for crystalline silica is very, very low because you want to avoid getting as much exposure to it as possible in the first place. But say
I've sealed my fate.
We have another opening at the glass plant.
No.
The white powder is not a fun white powder.
I was in ceramics the other day. We were all working in the glaze room, which is like everyone who gives a shit about what they're doing, you see wearing a respirator in the glaze room. And our professor was just like, all of you go in there and glaze your pieces. And we were like, okay. I mean, 4 hours later, no one was on the floor, so how bad could it really be? And I was saying to my roommate who was working next to me, they're like, we had to fill out a special oh my god, slop safety training, shop safety training. I'm an offense to being in the presence of a professional OSHA parasite.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I accidentally called the pre-shift inspection the pre-shit inspection.
Me trying to figure out if I'm sick or I just haven't gone into the bathroom in too long. Anyway, I was working next to my roommate, and I said, like, with all the shop safety hazards we had to be reviewed on before we do this, how long do you think professional ceramic artists are able to do this before they succumb? Or like something actually happens to their health? And she was just like, I think they just all succumb to the silicosis. And then she put on her headphones and kept working. I was like, yeah, that seems about right.
Incredible.
Sorry, folks, the Neanderthals that live below us are causing some sort of ruckus I can't identify.
Unga bunga.
They haven't been yelling at their women in a while. Sometimes they yell at each other. Like, fuck, my bed! Or don't swallow that! That's all we've been able to discern lately.
What the hell are they doing down there?
We can only speculate, and I think I prefer it that way.
Yeah, that's probably for the better, given the just lack of context there.
I want to hear from the two girls that hang out with them. I'm sure they mean well. I want to psychoanalyze them.
In most cases.
I'm sure it's a case of, they're sweet. Yeah, I bet they are.
I mean, that depends on one's definition of sweet.
I bet they're sweet. They're sweet boys.
Like the smell of diesel exhaust on a cold morning.
Now that's something I think we can all agree on.
The new buses were always exciting.
New buses were exciting. And they have Ford V10s in them. That's pretty neat. So when when they're rolling out of the middle school at 2 p.m., it sounds like a bunch of vipers leaving a car meet. But I miss that smell sometimes.
I'm not sure what engine was used in the buses in my district, but
what were they?
I believe there were internationals of some description.
Then they're either going to be 466s or maybe a Cat or a Cummins. This isn't a car show, by the way.
No, it is not a car show.
I'm going to keep saying that until it's true, but it's come up in every episode so far.
But we're talking about buses.
This is take that, liberal. Sir, the left wing's been destroyed.
Boneless wings.
You were saying something specific about nostalgia before.
But regarding nostalgia, so the unfiltered diesel exhaust being associated with our younger, dumber, blissfully ignorant days. This is, I'll call it true nostalgia, because it's something we've experienced, something we're familiar with, at least from our perspective.
And that it was a lived experience. Like, even though, even though we tend to view our memories with a confirmation bias of sorts that'll appear in our mind with maybe more joy than it had in the moment, it's still a lived experience that stuck with you as something really positive. So like that's something I'll never play devil's advocate on.
Mm-hmm. And that actually provides the perfect transition to what I was going to talk about next, is what I'll call false nostalgia.
Yeah, this is what I was wondering about. I couldn't remember the term you used because I've never heard that before.
I believe people also refer to this as viewing something with rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, but I didn't want to use that exact term.
Yeah. So a good example I'll give, and I kept trailing off from this before, but when I started college in 2020,
with these rose-tinted glasses on, all the red flags just look like flags.
Indeed.
I'm having a great time.
I actually really did have a great time my freshman year.
Yeah. And you were here before me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, I had a great time. Maybe half my classes were online, which was like, okay, whatever.
It's whatever.
The other half was in person, and for the most part, we were just goofing around, having a good time, like not even really taking that much seriously.
Really? I mean, we actually haven't talked about your pandemic era much.
The second semester is when things started to sort of sink in on like just what is happening.
Again, I think we touched on this earlier with the power steering line on the donkey van blowing, that you suddenly realize that you're in a situation.
Yeah. Unlike the power steering debacle, though, this didn't like hit me all at once. It was very gradual, and it was very numbing.
Damn.
It just...
I mean, I'm sorry to hear that, but...
It kind of is what it is. I'm sure there's some people out here that can relate, but it just started
plenty
feeling...
of people, I'm sure. And there's... I think there's also an assumption with just stories about living through COVID that it has to be a bad story no matter what.
We're getting distracted by a foam air filter.
Sorry, chat. Foam came on screen.
Foam.
I'm a big foam guy. I got flashbacks to building composite molds.
They're singing Elmo's World downstairs.
They're singing
Help.
Elmo's World. We apologize for the interruption, but oh my god, I wish you could hear this.
This is the college experience, folks.
Before we get too off track, speaking of land speed, congratulations to Salty Box Racing for resetting the C-Class diesel land speed record at 315 miles per hour average in their Cummins 5.9 liter Streamliner. You actually said it best earlier. I don't know how to comprehend that speed.
It is genuinely incomprehensible, because you've seen like that one damn Nissan Altima fly down the street at like 90 miles an hour.
Close to 100.
Yeah.
What does 300 even feel like? And of course, you're on the salt. You're on a dry lake. You can't tell that you're even moving other than the vibrations.
I'm putting it in the... When you put it like that, that must be terrifying.
No, that's why they put cones out. That's the only way you can tell how fast you're going, is you just watch the cones come up.
That's horrifying.
And another thing that, I won't dwell on this too much, but the other thing people don't seem to understand about land speed racing, maybe a Streamliner misses a record and all the comments will be like, the hell you mean that thing makes only 1,500 horsepower? Like my box Chevy with max speeding rods turbos could make that much power. What I think people don't understand is that these engines have to make maximum power for minutes on end. Like your Hellcat that's doing E85 rips down I-90 on a TikTok live with like 5 seconds at full throttle. You're not producing double that power for 5 minutes straight in the sweltering heat.
I have to wonder how the engines are able to withstand that kind of abuse. Like,
I mean, there's a reason people bring spares.
I believe it.
You start reaching the point, and especially with the kind of horsepower you can make with modern parts, you start reaching the point of like the alchemy of the metal itself can't handle the stresses you're putting it under. If you're keen enough to go fast that you start like warping the matter of the universe, that it can't handle what you're putting it through, I just think that's rad as hell. Sacrifices to the god of speed, I suppose. I've been on LSD for 5 days. They call me the god of speed. And we're back. Quick break. We got distracted by a man mowing grass on the YouTube. Puts a man's mind at ease, I suppose.
I want to mow my lawn.
I want to mow my lawn. I want to have a lawn to mow. We have a lawnmower. It's been domesticated. It lives in our house.
As you can see, Sam and Dante are two forces of ADHD to be reckoned with.
I hate how right you are, and I hate you for it.
I hate me too. We could express our gripes about this current location.
The human body isn't equipped for things like that. Oh, I wasn't planning to mention this before, but I just remembered I was talking to a friend of mine, someone who specializes in psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. And they said something that's really stuck with me since then, is that in their experience, they said, the more I look around at this place we're in and the people in it, kind of pull myself back from being in the space, look at it at large. And I just thought to myself that our species was never designed to endure this. And that specific line has been sticking with me for a few weeks now. That like maybe the reason that we fall into these mental and emotional pits so easily is that we were just never designed for this game that's been set up for us. Does that make sense? It's like going into the mud with summer tires. If a real physical change isn't made, the vehicle's going to get stuck. And you wonder why everyone's falling apart all the time. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I think that was a really simple way to sum up a lot of what I've been thinking about and didn't really have an answer to.
You're very right about that.
We talked for like another hour after that, and I forget all of it.
Such is life sometimes.
Such is life.
But nowadays, I just have a lot more responsibilities. I got to worry about getting a job, making enough money so I can actually afford everything.
I want a lawn.
Yes.
I want a lawn to mow.
So do I.
Actually, another thing I was talking about in my previous episode was like the simple pleasures of like basic straight man activities. Sometimes I just want to mow my lawn.
They are making whale noises downstairs, but I digress.
They sure are. I'm trying really hard to ignore it. How do I explain that to my therapist?
Imagine being able to afford a therapist.
I can't, but I plan to at least try that out for myself in the next few months.
What, too soon? Regardless, I understand where you're coming from. And we've talked about this specific aspect in the past, but I've found it a lot more fun to wrench on other people's vehicles.
Shitboxes are more fun with friends, I think, is the line you usually say.
Yes.
And I agree, wholeheartedly.
On campus, when you're living in the dorms.
Barracks.
The barracks, yes. You don't need to worry about like making yourself dinner after a long day. You can just mosey on down to one of the town halls.
Yeah,
not town halls, dining halls.
There are provisions in place.
Yeah, so it's just all very, I'll say low maintenance, low care. Like everything's just kind of there and it's more or less handed to you.
And there's a lot of intention to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you see some fourth years that are incapable of people older than us that are pretty much incapable of a lot of basic life skills. But then again, our definition might be a lot more different than theirs. We spend our Saturdays changing power steering fluid.
Yeah. The life skills is an excellent point because a lot of us weren't exactly taught proper life skills. It's a failure on a couple different levels. I'm not going to point any fingers specifically, but a big part of it falls on our educational system. We're just straight up not taught this kind of stuff. And they run on the assumption that like, oh, they'll learn it from their parents. And I don't know if this is too dark of a topic to go into.
No. I think this stuff is fascinating.
Not everyone has parents or functional parents to teach them this kind of thing.
In this day and age, no less.
You just kind of get screwed.
When I think the expectation of having like a quote unquote normal family structure has broken down so much that it helps some people get out of bad situations, destigmatizing that. It also leads to so much more abnormality.
Funny thing, actually. Oh, so that's what that tool's
Look
for.
at that screwdriver.
I found one of those at the estate, and I could not figure out what it was for.
Did you keep it?
Yeah, I still have it.
Next week, tune in for interesting screwdrivers.
We might have to file a domestic abuse report soon. I don't know what they're doing, but
yeah,
anyways.
They're abusing the domicile, the house itself.
So there's a video on YouTube that is quite literally titled, "We Have Reached Peak 90s Technology." And I think I might have shown you this. And we've never experienced the 90s directly, but I can't help but, in a way, I feel like I miss it.
It might be like a desire to have experienced it, even for its faults.
This is possible. And it's another one of those rose-tinted sunglasses things because,
yeah, for all the intolerance that was probably present.
Yeah, like
I feel like
there's around and
there's an experience to the aesthetic of the world.
Yeah.
And how that's different.
There's plenty of people that will tell you like the 90s were a bit crap, and they'll tell you you're delusional for being nostalgic for it.
And I think we finally have a rebuttal to that, which I don't doubt them, but yeah, and then it got worse.
That is an interesting rebuttal, and the pessimist in me will probably reuse that.
I don't like sounding like a pessimist on this show, but I feel like the deeper we go into certain topics, it's hard not to take a bit of a negative perspective just on the way things are going.
The funny thing about that is I've become, I guess, kind of self-aware, and I've been somewhat trying to be a bit less pessimistic about everything.
I figure best we can do is just better.
It ain't easy.
Even on a moment-to-moment basis, just I hesitate to say get better, but get better in a positive way.
Yeah.
It's
like
with intention. Get better with intention.
It's not to like put you down.
No.
It's to like say
like
now's the time to take action.
Get better, affectionate.
Yeah.
Skill issue, affectionate.
Yeah. There's something to be said about it.
Let's hope we all do better. You think that's a good place to end?
I think so.
Would you like to plug anything?
Chat. Listen to Go With The Flow by Pain.
Pain!
Just go with the flow.
And if you'd like to view any of my other work, follow DV Auto Art on Instagram. That's DV_Auto Art. And consult Swedish Diesel Group for all of your, I guess, industrial needs generally.
Social media presence is a work in progress. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned indeed. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.